Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. You can give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Then we can. We're gonna wait like 5 minutes before we actually get started, just so we can let more people come in. But yeah, thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited to share Only Believe with you. So I'm just gonna put myself on mute here real quick, and then yeah, we'll get started in just a couple moments here. All right, I am back. So glad you guys could make it. Um, Enjoying the talk about the weather. It's like 66 here. It's apparently 55 in Vermont. It's pretty cold. Um, yeah, good to see you, Megan. I'm excited to share this song. It's gonna be really cool. What's up, John? Glad you could make it, man. I've got my team here. My wife Jennifer Cook, my friend Kenji Stanley. They're both in here. They helped me set up some lights and um, yeah, going pretty cool. So glad to have them here. It's always a good time. Oh, so it's already looking like the fall. Nice. In Vermont. Cool. Um, yeah, if you didn't know, my wife is from Vermont and her family lives up there, and so it's a beautiful place. If you ever get to go, you totally should. Hey, Caleb, glad you can make it too. Awesome. Cool. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and get started here. So what you can expect for tonight is I'm going to be playing the logic file, just the session file of Only Believe. So you'll get to hear it, and then I'm going to tell a little bit about the inspiration of why I wrote it, the origin, where it came from, why did I write a song about believing. Um, it's based off of 2 Timothy 1:7. I'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm also going to tell you like some of the interesting facts about the project here, and how it kind of all. It took a while, but it was a really good process. Definitely challenging at points, but also very rewarding and very fulfilling. So yeah, cool. So thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you taking time out of your evening to spend with me here. And so yeah, this is a song that was written by somebody who was in distress in many ways, and I hope it can help people who are also in distress. It's also hopefully encouraging, even if you're not in distress. Hey, Karen, glad you can make it. So I wrote this song during a challenging time in my life. I was between jobs and I was really burnt out with the current job I had. And so I was fearful. I was not really knowing how God was going to provide, and I didn't really know what the next steps were. And I was in a pretty dark place. I didn't know the way forward. And that's right about when I read 2 Timothy 1:7, which I'd read before, but it really impacted me enough to like stay up till midnight, just playing the guitar, wrestling with my thoughts and wrestling with the passage. Because the passage says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of self-control." And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't feel that in the moment. Like I felt that fear. I was like, how am I supposed to like have the spirit of power, love, and self-control if like I'm just not sure what's going to happen, what the next step is, how God's going to lead me on this point. If I do quit my job, is he going to provide a new job? Is it all going to work out? And that's stressful stuff. So that kind of prompted the beginning of this song, a spirit of fear and regret, a spirit of doubt that won't let you come to the end of this dark, cold night. So yeah, I reflected on the spirit of hopelessness, the spirit of dread, and that's what I was feeling. Um, so there's two verses that kind of delve into that, the darkness, if you will. Um, and then I remembered a passage from Mark 5:35. It says, well, Jesus is to the ruler of a synagogue, and he's saying, "Don't fear, only believe." And let's take a step back here and realize what the situation is. So the ruler of the synagogue has come to Jesus, and he's saying, "My daughter is dying. I need you. Please come help." And what Jesus does is he lingers, like on his way, but he stops and he heals the woman who didn't want to be noticed. She had a disease she'd had a disease of bleeding for a long time, and so God reached out to her and healed her, and he wanted her to know that he was there with her. And about this time, messengers came to the ruler of the city and said, "Your daughter has died." And that is when Jesus says, "Don't fear, only believe." So he challenges us into places of radical faith and impossible circumstances, places where we don't see a way forward. But he gently says, "Only believe. Don't you fear. Only believe." And so that's the chorus of this song. That's the crux of this. And so that's what we get into. Like God has not given us a fear, but a power, love, and self-control. And this prompts us to the bridge of my song. It talks about Jesus. He's taken our sin. He's taken our guilty shame, our crown of thorns. He bore the death we deserved. He lived the life we couldn't live, and he died the death we deserved. And because of that, we have hope. And that's another thing that just prompts us to have this faith in him, because we see what he's done for us. And it's just so incredible. So that leads to like the climax of this bridge where the whole choir is coming in and we say, well, he's Jesus, he's Savior. Forever we're changed, forever we're saved. And then that brings us into, I guess, a pre-chorus where it's a challenge. It's time to follow in his path, which is crazy because we see what Jesus has done. He laid down his life for his friend. He's loved us in the most amazing way. But that's what we're called to follow in his path. It might be narrow, but we're not alone. We've got Jesus with us. We've got faithful brothers and sisters. We've got Christians with us to help us along this journey. So yeah, narrow, but we're not alone. Fight the good fight, guard the faith, endure the race. And those are the words of Paul to Timothy, the words of a father to a son in the faith, saying like, keep running the race. So yeah, so we have each other. And so that brings us into the final section, the final verse, which is talking about the kingdom of God. So the kingdom of God has come in our hearts and our minds. And so we have that, but it's dark now as in a mirror, but then we'll see Jesus face to face. So we will be in the kingdom of God. So it's the last part of it is a reflection on that. So like we have this hope, a kingdom of righteousness, of peace, place where all pain will cease. So that is kind of like summing up, like we don't have to fear. We can have faith, and it may be difficult, but it's a journey. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to play the song. Fear and regret, the spirit of doubt, no one lets you come to the end of your dark, cold night. Fear of hopelessness and dread, oh, remember the words he said, don't you fear, but only believe. A time without light of the day, time in the end, the words say, curse your God and fade away. The time in your life you're afraid, you think you've lost the way, don't you fear, but only believe. For God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of self-control and love. So have faith, even when you cannot see, and have hope in what is yet to be. You took our wretched sin, you are a guilty shame, in humility came. Holy is his name, you took our crown of thorns, you are our sinful stain, in love you came. Holy is his name, he is Jesus, he's our Savior. Forever we are changed, forever we are saved. It's time to follow his path. Narrow, but we're not alone. Fight the good fight, guard the faith. You're the race. But don't be troubled, don't be ashamed. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of self-control and love. So have faith, even when you cannot see, and have hope in what is yet to be. A kingdom of light and hope, a kingdom beyond the scope of what we could ever dream of or imagine. A kingdom of righteousness and peace, a place where all pain will cease. Don't make you feel, but God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and a self-control and love. So have faith, even when you cannot see, and have hope for all eternity. And that is Only Believe. So yeah, it's dropping on streaming services tomorrow at 7 a.m. It could take longer, so just be on the lookout. It might not show up on Spotify till like 12 p.m. or even later, but yeah, just keep on the lookout for that. So yeah, so now I'm going to open it up for questions. If you have any questions about the song, I'm gonna talk about a few things, but if you do have any questions, just drop those in the comments, and I'd be happy to like look into this a little bit further. Huge shout out to Nolan Sorsby. He might be in the comments there, but he played guitar for me. He did a phenomenal job. So that's one thing about these music projects is when you have collaboration, it often it just makes it better than you could ever do it on your own. So like bringing in the expertise, I can play guitar, but Nolan, he's been playing for like a lot longer than I have, and like he's so good at it. And so just having him come in and play the guitar, he thinks of things that I wouldn't think of. And so it really just, when you can bring on other people to projects, it really just it just elevates it and makes it that much cooler. So I was super glad to have him part of the project. So let's see. Questions. What was something I learned while making the song? I learned quite a few things. This is from Kenji Stanley. Every time you do a project, you learn something new. For me, the mixing was a challenge. So when you hear the choir in the song, like that's all my voices. So I ended up using about, I think, between 60 and 70 tracks, just like singing one track to another track, just layering it, just to make it big and epic sounding. So that was really challenging because I started out with like, I think 4 to 10 voices, and it was like smaller than I wanted, and it didn't sound quite right. And that actually took the most time out of this whole project. It was, I think I spent between 60 and 70 hours putting this all together, and I would say maybe a quarter to a third was putting in the choir tracks. So yeah, I learned quite a lot from this. I improvised a shaker on it, so I didn't have one, and I was like, oh, maybe I could buy one. But I was like, why not just make one with rice and beans? It works just as well. So yeah, I used this in the mix and turned the reverb like really wet on it, and that just means it has a ton of reverb on it, so it sounds like it's fuller. And so yeah, that was really cool. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Let's see. What's my songwriting process? That's a great question, Morgan. So my songwriting process, it varies, but oftentimes I'll just like grab an instrument and start playing. Sometimes it's the guitar. I've been known to go out during thunderstorms on the front porch and just start playing music. So just getting into like a quiet place and just letting the music lead me wherever it goes. That's a huge thing. So it doesn't have to be perfect on the first go round. Another thing I do is I record voice memos when I'm driving down the road, and that helps me like think of ideas and realize that those ideas were not that great. And then, but the interesting thing is those bad ideas that I think are bad, those can actually lead to some really good ideas. So there's nothing when writing music. So I think that's something really important to learn. But for this song, I just sat down on the bed and got my guitar and started reading scripture, and that's basically how the chorus of this song came about. And so yeah, that's my songwriting process. I'll usually just sing along with the guitar. I tend to work best when I sing and play music at the same time. But it depends. Sometimes just singing or just playing as a start can be a good thing. All right. Yeah, I see your comment, Nolan. Fun to play. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you could play on it. It was wonderful. Let's see. Oh, so Jennifer says, I heard several Daniel singing. How did you do that? What I did is I layered vocals. So um, you can see like all the takes that I did here. So so yeah, so that's uh, that's what I did. I like there's a feature in Logic, which is the program I use, where you can record and then select a certain time frame, and it just loops back and forth, so you can like go through that pass multiple times, so you can get it to the point where you'd like it. But also, so I have my main vocals here, and then I have background vocals on separate tracks. So the tenor and the bass have their line right here. You heard that in. So right there, I'm singing the tenor part, the melody, and then the bass part. And so yeah, having those separate tracks really helps with that. And then on top of that, I've got more vocals here. There's a ton of vocals. There's 3 different choirs. One is like a transition choir between different sections, such as like the verse and the chorus. So, and then other ones where it's like just supporting what's happening in the melody. How many Daniels are singing at once? At some point between 60 and 70. So it was kind of crazy. Yeah. Kenji Stanley introduced me to that idea. He did that for a couple of his songs, and I was like, I have to try this. So I did. What does editing look like for you after you have a first draft of lyrics? That's a really good question. It goes through a lot of different iterations, but what I'll do mostly is I'll have a prayer journal, and I'll write the lyrics after I sing them into my voice memo. So I'll sing it into my voice memo, play it on the guitar until I'm comfortable with it, and basically have it memorized. And then I'll write down the verses. And there's a lot of like scratching out words and adding new words, and there's multiple iterations. So I'll usually have a lot of different places where I've written out the song just as it progresses. So yeah, normally it starts with maybe a chorus or maybe a verse or two, and then I'll be driving down the road and I'm like, oh, that's a really cool melody line. I need to include that, and so it'll just like kind of get added on to the song, and then so yeah, I'll keep writing down my progress in the prayer journal. So, oh, Patrick says, funny that I'm not the only one who thought he sounds like Adam Young. Thank you. I'm actually not sure who Adam Young is. I'll have to look him up. Oh, Owl City. Wow. I guess I do know who Adam Young is. I just know his pseudonym. Okay, well, Michael Colson says, that's very cool. When did you start writing the song? Okay, so this is the super ironic thing about this song. So I originally had the idea for this song in 2021, so I guess 2 years ago, and believe it or not, I was fearful to record and write out the song. Like, what if my voice is bad? What if the music I write isn't good enough? But ultimately, through the encouraging of friends like Kenji Stanley, I realized I just have to. It might not be perfect, but I need to write it because I believe it has a message that can encourage people and maybe bring them out of a dark place like I was in. So it's more important for me to share a message that is uplifting to people and that helps them. And at the same time, I do want to craft excellent music, so that's not diminishing that in any way. But I'll write the music to the best of my ability, and um, and with each new song, I just continually improve. So you got to start somewhere, I guess. Your first songs might not be amazing, but you can't write 100th song writing your first song. So and I think that can be applied to anything. But yeah, so once I actually started writing it in the session file here, it took me about 60 to 70 hours, and a lot of that again was the choir. So, but I had a difficult time with the brass section as well. Just programming that was kind of challenging. Okay, I missed a funny question from Karen. Let me see if I can find that one. Food most consumed while writing this song. Hmm. That's a good question. Normally, I snack on a ton of nuts, so I usually have peanuts with me. One time I was composing and I ate like a whole pack of saltine crackers in one sitting, and I think that was my dinner. That was in college, so that was pretty funny. But but yeah, I eat a ton of eggs too, but but yeah, I don't know. Let's see. When will it be on Apple Music? So yeah, it should be on Apple Music tomorrow. 7 a.m. is when I scheduled the release, but sometimes streaming services upload it a bit afterwards, so you can expect it to be there tomorrow. What inspires me to write? So for this song, it was it was definitely the Bible. Second Timothy 1:7. Like God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-control. So I wanted to communicate that with people. I write songs to myself too. Like I want to communicate saltiness. I want to communicate messages with people, but these messages like come from my heart and like what I'm dealing with in the moment. So sometimes they're love songs to my wife, and that's I write her anniversary songs. So yeah, that's usually what inspires me is what I'm going through in life. I I wrote a song about a bus being described as a triceratops. If you haven't heard that, you can give it a listen on Spotify. But I was driving down the road and there was this bus that was going really slow. So I was like, you know what, I should write a song about that. So it's usually just things I'm facing in life. Yeah, thanks for that question, Marissa. Okay. Kenji says, I think we've eaten an entire bag of saltiness at one point or another. Yeah. All right. Missed a question. Saltines. Apparently, I can't read either. Okay. And let's see. What was this question that I missed? Saltiness. I don't know. Maybe. Let's see. Not seeing this question. All right. Here we go. What's coming up next for me? Great question. Yeah, I have some more songs that are kind of in a similar style. So one of these songs is about Lot, the guy who had to flee the city. So it's kind of telling a story about him being like a man of position in the city and having to suddenly like leave on a moment's notice and kind of how he felt about that. And then kind of going along with the theme of having faith. So there's another one coming where it's called Yet I'll Rejoice. So kind of along the lines of Habakkuk, where I believe it's Habakkuk, where like all these bad things are happening. God's people are in captivity. They're really struggling. And even in this situation, Habakkuk is like, it's bad. Like I'll rejoice in God. Because I know he's sovereign and that he's in control of all this. So yeah, those are two songs that I'm hoping to release fairly soon. We'll see. Cool. Well, does anybody have any more questions? Oh, okay. So Jennifer says that I should talk about the process of how many Daniels sing. So let's see. it's quite a process. But you have to have parts, soprano, tenor, alto, bass. So I'm doing all the voices. So what I end up doing for the soprano voices is I sing in falsetto. I have pitched my voice up a little bit. I didn't do that a whole lot in this. I just tried to sing within my range of falsetto. But yeah, it's a lot of just recording take after take, and just I'll go with the sopranos and record like maybe 2 parts for the sopranos, maybe more, and then just go through like several different go through the track, like different tracks several times. So just keep adding layers until it sounds kind of as full as I want it to be. So let's see if we can play some choir music here. How about what? So I put a ton of reverb on it, so it's that also helps make it sound bigger. You can kind of hear it still going, maybe. The tail, we call it, the tail of the voices, where it just like kind of fades off for a long time. So that was the choir. That's what led us into the bridge. What is yet to be? You took our wretched sin, your guilty shame, in humility came. So it's kind of buried in the mix, but it also adds so much depth to it. So it's really cool hearing the choir isolated. Do I compose the choir parts horizontally or vertically? That's a great question. Could you further delve into your question there? I think I'm a bit confused by it. Sorry. Do I lie down or stand? Normally I sit, actually.
Horizontal or vertical?
Horizontal or vertical. Karen asks a question. Let's see. Oh yes, I was going to get that. Is there an album in the future? I definitely think there could be an album in the future. I've got 3 songs, including this one, planned now. So what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of releasing singles. But for my next song, I might release like 2 songs or 3 songs, which is basically an EP. It's like the step below an album. And then so yeah, ideally I will be producing an album, just based on the idea of like having faith in like tough circumstances. So yeah, I think that would be a super cool thing to do. So yeah. There were some other choirs here that were supporting. You took our wretched sin, you bore our guilt. So this choir part is singing along with the melody in different parts. So you got the bass, tenor, alto, and soprano, which is following the vocal line, just singing harmonies. So, and then, well, I can play that for a little bit longer, so you can hear it. Wretched sin, you are guilty shame, in humility came. Holy is his name, he took our crown of thorns, he bore our sinful stain, in love he overcame. Holy is his name, he is Jesus, he's our Savior, forever we are changed, forever we are saved. And then I've got the, let's see. I think these are just the oohs and ahs, some more of those. He took our wretched sin before our guilt. That actually was not. That was still the. Here we go. So yeah, here the oohs and ahs are. And then all three of them together, all three choirs, sounds kind of like this. He took our wretched sin, through our guilty shame, in humility came. Holy is his name. He took our crown of thorns, he bore our sinful stain, in love he overcame. Holy is his name, he is Jesus, he's our Savior. So that's kind of in context. I kind of use the strings to mimic the choir, so that kind of adds more depth and makes it more full. Cool. So we have Morgan clarifying the question: do I compose each vocal part one line at a time, horizontal, or compose the full chord by chord vertically? Definitely one part at a time. So I'll do like the soprano, like one part for like the bridge, and I'll go through either like a large section or even all of it with just the sopranos, or maybe like just a transitional point, like going from a verse to a chorus or a chorus to a bridge. So yeah, I'll do like soprano 1, soprano 2, then like the tenor parts, bass parts, alto parts. I'll usually go in some order, like from the either the highest voice to the lowest voice or the lowest voice to the highest voice. But no, I don't typically just do like one chord. I feel like I have more flow and more control if I just do one voice all the way across. Sometimes I do like plan my chords like with a piano part, so I'll keep in mind what chords I'm going through, and I'll just like sing the appropriate line based off that. So I print out the chord chart, and so as I'm singing, I can kind of visualize what chords I'm going for, which kind of keeps me oriented. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. Thanks, Karen, for the harmonies. I'm glad you like them. And yeah, the choral sound was really cool to produce. I'm glad you enjoyed that. All right, question from Marissa: what part did you go back to and perfect the most challenging? And did you learn anything while creating it, whether personally or creatively? Fascinating question. That's really good. So let me show you a bird's eye view of my session file. That I think will help here. So you can't see it quite as much now, but you can see how many tracks are like in the middle. So that was definitely the hardest part, the bridge. I wanted it to be big and like kind of like just an angelic choir worshiping God and just praising him for what he's done and like taking our sin and like raising from the dead. And so I wanted that to be really big, really impactful. So that took most of the time. The orchestration and the verses and the choruses are there. It's there, but it didn't take me quite as long. But that I really wanted to make as big as possible, just because of the grandiose nature of it. And I started on that section first after getting like the basic guitar track down and vocal track. That's what I started with, just guitar and vocals, like my voice and guitar. So doing that kind of gave me a framework for how I was going to orchestrate the rest of the song. But when I just was spending time on the bridge, it actually started looking like a cross, which is super cool. Let me see if I can show that. you can kind of see it here. It was a little more evident in earlier parts, but you see the main guitar and vocal tracks up here, and then this is choir and brass mostly, going up here and down here at the bottom. So um, I learned a ton when creating this because it wasn't sounding like I wanted it to, and it was taking a lot longer than I expected it to. And so it gave me just the drive to have patience and to keep hashing it out, keep working on it, keep trying, because I really wanted to um, make it really good. So it taught me perseverance and how to keep going, even though there were times when I felt like, "Ugh, this is getting nowhere. Like when I'm adding on to this, it's just making it sound worse." Because when I finished adding those 60 choir voices in that section, I listened to it and I was like, this doesn't seem like it's improving the song. This seems like it's bringing it down and making it worse. And I just like wasted a whole bunch of time. Um, but I kept with it, and by lowering the choir in the mix, I was able to get it to sound how I wanted it to. So I think what I learned is mistakes and like the hard thing, they don't have to be defeating. Rather, you can look at them as an opportunity to grow, knowing that having gone through like this mistake or this thing that thought was wrong, you're actually growing and learning. And so, what I came to realize was, even if like I felt like this part tripped me up the most, I'm a better composer now for it because I learned from the hard things. So that's, I think, what I learned through this process the most is like my music might not be perfect, but with each new song I write, I think it will improve and get better. And the things that trip me up will actually serve musical inspirations from Brock Snow, artists or groups. 10th Avenue North is a huge inspiration to me. The way his music like really just touches topics that are like difficult for people, challenging for people. I realized that in high school, I was um, I was struggling to get to sleep because I was just having a hard time. And on a North song, that Times was a really good one that really helped me. Later, I learned that he composed that song when his girlfriend broke up with him. They got married later, but that's what prompted him to compose that song. And um, basically, it's saying these difficult times, like like God's there. So so yeah, he's definitely an inspiration. Like it was helpful. Another song was Side. So even in like the dead of night when I might have been having a rough night, I knew God was there by my side and I could pray to him, and he was there with me. So just seeing that he was able to offer like comfort to people without even knowing them, in dark places, like that's really inspired me. I want to be able to do that as well, and just hopefully speak into people's lives with my music. So yeah, some other inspirations are the Great Havens. I think they're pretty cool. I do film composing, so John Powell's "How to Train Your Dragon" is very inspirational. But this music, uh, it's kind of film score-ish. I mean, it's film score-esque. It's got the orchestra in it, so it's kind of a more epic song. So yeah. Um, okay, Megan asked a question. I'm so sorry I missed it. Let's see. What was your favorite part of the songwriting process for this song? That's a great question. So the song was originally just a guitar and vocals, um, and so I thought it was cool. But then I started adding like a bass and percussion, and that's when it first started coming together. So just the moment where it became a song to the point where it was like starting to get orchestrated, I started to like see the vision come into fruition. Like I got to see the reality like of what the song was going to be coming into play, and that was super cool. Because when I first writing the song, I did try recording this song like a year or two ago, and I was playing guitar on it and singing, and let's just say it's come a long way since then. Like after I had done that initial recording like a year ago, I was like, oh my goodness, how is this song ever going to be like at the level I want it to be? And the truth is, like, you can get really close, but it's hard. You can't really make a perfect song. So at some point, you just have to give your best effort. And even if you can, uh, even if you can work on it more, like you can always work on a song more. There comes a point when you just have to release it, knowing that you've done your best. And so yeah, hope that answers your question. So yeah, I think just seeing it grow um, into what I had hoped it would be was just a really cool part of the songwriting process. Um, Another fun thing, the drum set that you hear in this song is actually sounds that I sampled from the kitchen. So the kick drum is like a cabinet slamming. The snare is me like scraping a knife against something. Hi hat is me getting a chopstick and like tapping a iron skillet. Or yeah, cast iron skillet. So just like being creative in the process, super fun for me. I played flute on it as well. So just what I've heard is giving your music like a human quality is super good, whether it's like a choir or playing an instrument um, or like creating unique sounds. Like that's something that's really cool to do. Cool. All right. Marissa says, do you get other ears on a song during the process or just wait until it's complete? If so, does it shift your view of it any? Any? Do you get other ears on a song? What? Oh, yes. Okay, I understand now. I was confused by the question. Yes, I've brought Kenji in to listen to my songs quite a bit. He helps me a lot just to think about the song in a new perspective. Like I said earlier, when you can bring more people into a song, into the creative process, it really does make it better. So it was his idea um, to add the choir and to just go all out, try like throwing just a whole bunch of tracks on it. He helped me a great deal with the brass, um, making it sound like actual brass. So it's really hard to do. So yeah, I definitely brought a lot of people in and just asked their perspective, like because like it might be hard to hear people criticize your music, but if you can bring more ears to listen to your work, it can only get better because you'll get creative people have ideas that you might not have. So I think that's a really thing to do is to like to listen to other people's perspectives and see what they think. Yeah, I do that with all my songs at some point. Usually it's when I'm somewhere along the process where I like have it somewhat fleshed out. So I'll ask people to like get ideas for like adding additional ideas or additional music, additional instruments, and that usually um, that usually makes the song a lot better and makes it a lot cooler. so so yeah, I definitely like having other people's perspectives and point of views. All right. Did I miss any other questions, or do you guys have any other questions for me? Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for attending. You can, of course, go to my YouTube channel or Spotify, wherever you stream music. It's going to be there tomorrow. So yeah, I'm so excited for this song to release, and thank you guys all so much for being a part of this. Because it really does help me, and like I couldn't do it without you guys. So no, I'm just so thankful that you guys showed up to hear this song, and yeah, pray that God gives you all faith, and so just encourages you in your walk with Him, and I hope this song can just just be an encouragement. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for your comment, Aunt Becky. Yes. Yeah, I think it is important to stay in a posture of being willing to learn. But I think it is important. It makes you grow sometimes in ways that you don't want to, but no, it's good. So yeah, again, thank you all so much for coming. You all have an important place in my life, so I'm glad that I could share this time with you, and hope you guys all have a wonderful night. Bye.